Hello everybody, my name is Ginger, Ginger, whatever you would like, and today we're talking about Relics, another tier list for Age of Mythology. Hold your applause, it's just going to get worse from here on out. So, we've got the wiki up, we've got the soundtrack up, we've got the tier list up. Let's get into this with my very controversial opinions. Okay, so, a pair of golden lions. What does it do, first of all? Well, it brings 2 lions for your temple. Both have to be killed in order to spawn 2 more. If one dies, it doesn't just spawn the other one. So if the wiki decides not to show advertisements, they have 70 hit points. They've got 5 speed. If we look at the attack, they've got 7 hack attack. They're not massively strong, but you are getting them for free. They're really good for scouting. Scouting, that's the correct word. And they're also really good for early rushes. Do I like it? No. It's okay. It's A tier. It's probably S tier if you get it like first thing, and then you can use it for scouting. But in the later games, it's not really useful. It does drop in usefulness. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's low A tier. I'm not gonna lie. It's not particularly strong, it's not particularly weak, it's just there. So, yeah, A tier, I would say, for them. The Ankh of Ra. So, it produces a trickle of 2.4 favor per minute. Useful for every single, I was about to say generation. Not that game. Useful for every single civilization. It says on here, useful for Norse early on. Yes, it's also useful for Egyptian early on. And Greeks, and not really Atlanteans, but definitely I would say useful for everyone except Atlanteans. So if you think about it, you get a set amount of favor from the Egyptians' monuments. Norse don't give you any favor unless you're attacking, and Chinese you've got to produce it in gardens, and you've got to get villagers to do favor with that one, especially if you have Zeus as well. It just means you can hold the extra favor. So I'm going to put the Ankh of Ra in S tier. It's really useful, and it just means that you can free up resources elsewhere. I'm not saying it is a replacement for a villager, but it just helps out a lot, especially if you get it early on. It just gives you the extra favor. The Anvil of Hephaestus. So this gives you a discount on the armory techs of 10%. So it's useful, especially, like I said, early on. And it means that you are, if you're fighting and you're not trying to win with a wonder victory, you will probably buy armor techs. So it is very useful. And you're thinking, oh, 10% isn't a lot. Well, if we do some maths, I know, scary thought. Think of the first upgrade. So it's 200 food, 200 wood, right? Let's do some calculations. I'm just going to grab a pen and paper. Just bear with me. Hang on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Aha. It's great getting lost in my own living room. I could have paused that, but as I did not do for dramatic effect. If you didn't hear any of that, I'm sorry. Right, I've got a notepad, I've got a calculator, we're ready to do maths times. So, push everything back, let me have a space to work my magic. So if you think of it as 200 food for the first tech and 200 gold. And then it's 150 wood, and then 150 gold times 2. And those are for the first armory techs. So I believe it's no. So it's right. Let's just phrase this differently. So column for food, column for wood, and a column for gold. So the first weapon tech is 200 food, 200 gold, then it's 150 food and 150 gold, and then 150 wood and 150 gold. Okay, so we do 10% of each of those. That's 20 food and 20 gold. Right? So we do the table again. Should I have prepared this earlier? Probably. Do I care? Minorly. So then the second armor tech 10% off that is 15 and 15. And then for the third one, it's 15 wood and 15 gold. So if we total all of these up, this is only for the first line, okay? These are not the ones that you'll do later. So if you had Thor, you'd have more, but this one you don't. So 20 plus 15 is 35. So it's 35 wood, 35 gold, and 35 wood, no. Oh, words. 35 food, 35 gold, and 15 wood. So if you total it all together, that's 85. That's 85 resources. Now, I appreciate that's not a lot. However, you are nearly always going to get all the upgrades, and each upgrade will be more. So at minimum, you will save none. At maximum, you'll save a hell of a lot more. But if the game does end early, you've still got 85 resources saved. 35 wood, that's most of a villager. 35 food, most of a villager. 15 wood, doesn't really give you much, but it's something. And that's the most important thing. It doesn't produce resources, but saving is just as good. So, the Anvil of Hephaestus is best if you get it and it's a long game. It's worse if you get it and it ends in H2. And you haven't built the armory. So, if you assume, which is something you should never do, but if you do assume, because it does make an ass out of you and me, but if you do assume that the game will go on longer than at least the third age, then you've saved a hell of a lot of money. And then if you add it into, let's say you've chosen the Thor, you then got that extra upgrade to do as well. Yes, they're cheaper, so the Anvil of Hephaestus is less useful, but you've got that extra upgrade, and so it does mean it's more beneficial. So it kind of works out. So the Anvil of Hephaestus, a very useful relic. For something that is not a resource cost, you're not spending money, it's a very, very useful thing to get. Have I finished ranting? Not in the slightest. So, Armor of Achilles, which is Jesus fun. Infantry units have 5% less vulnerability to hack damage. Okay. So, infantry, it is the hoplites, let's get it. Yeah, so the hoplites, the anti-infantry, Paspis? I don't know. It includes the spearman, axeman, mercenary, and the swordsman. Also includes militia and meridian for Greeks. Norse is also throwing axeman, Hesea, and Huskal. Atlanteans is Mamillo, Catapeltes, Destroyer, and Fanatic. And Chinese is just the Halberdier. So there's a lot of things that is useful there. The problem for me for this is that it's not that useful because they're not really used. You don't counter infantry with infantry unless it's axemen or throwing axemen. So basically anything with an axe and then it's counter. But it's unless you're using counter units a lot, so unless the enemy is using counter units a lot, it's not that useful. Personally, I don't like to use counter units because they're only useful against that one thing. I like to use straight counters, such as archers for infantry and things like that. This is why I don't rate Armor of Achilles. It's useful if you use a lot of infantry, but I personally like to add a bit of myth in there, add a bit of, you know, it's okay. It's B tier. It still gives a 5% addition to the hacked armor, but it's not amazing. I am having to be really critical because if you look at all of these relics, all of them are good. I don't know a single one of them that is really terrible. So I've got to be really picky and really nasty to them, because that's the only way we're going to be able to sort it out. So I am going to be starting to be really critical. Armor of Achilles is still a brilliant relic, and even in D tier it's a brilliant relic, but it just means in comparison to the rest of them, and in comparison to how you'll get it, these are the questions we need to ask and rate. So that's what we're doing. Really harsh, really nasty. I'm a mean cunt, I know. So, Arrows of the Alpha. It's towers, fortresses, fortress equivalents, and town centers deal 20% more damage. Very useful for defensive players, and if you're walling yourself up, towers and fortresses are used to use the arrows, useful for that. If you're being aggressive, you're not really going to use it, but it's useful, especially to save you getting raided early on, and also then your walls not to go. It's a good B tier. I like to be a bit more aggressive, but I totally understand if you are a bit more defensive, you know, it's there. So then we've got Black Lotus. So the Black Lotus, you gather food from farms 10% faster. Considering this game, farms are infinite food. Point 1. Point 2, farms are the slowest form of food. Point 3, farms are something you always go to. So if you're on a high hunt map, or a high herdable map, you're probably not going to go to farms as quickly as if it's a low hunt map. If it's a high sea map with loads of different fishing spots, you're probably not going to make as much use of this. Is it still a good relic? Yes. Is it A tier? Yes, in my opinion it is. Because farms are a very slow source of food, so having any benefit and any increase to them is always going to be high in my book. Blanket of Empress Zoe, or Zoe. Buildings take 10% less crush damage. Again, useful for defensive players. I'm not a defensive player, so just like with the Arrows of the Alpha, it's going in B tier. It's alright. Blue Crystal Shard. Fight me, I've got time. I mean, I don't, but we'll say we've got time. So, it's S tier for me, clearly S tier. So, why? What does it do? Well, it increases the food, and no, it doesn't increase the food. Stop talking. The wood and gather rates increase by 5%. 5%, not a lot. But it's food, it's gold and wood. Gold, especially in the Egyptians, is the most valuable resource. And even out of the Egyptians, it's a very valuable resource. Wood is another valuable resource if you're not Egyptian. And it's very important to be able to have those there, because if you're on a sea map, wood is very needed. If you're not on a sea map, but you want to use archers, it's very needed, wood. So, having anything less than S tier is a crime. If it were just gold, it would still be an S tier. If it was just wood, it would probably not be an S tier. But because it's both, it doesn't matter that it's only 5%. So it's going in A tier. Find me. Boots of Kick Everything. So, hero units move 10% faster. Okay. That's a choice. Is it useful? Kind of. So, let's look at the heroes, okay? I don't know if, Hippocrates, is that the Hippocratic oath? The healer of the Greek world. I don't know if he is classed as a hero, or if he's classed as, I mean, not in this game, not in real life, or if he's classed as just a regular unit. But if you think of all heroes, I don't know a single fast hero, apart from the Greeks, but you only get 4. So, let's look at the Egyptians. So you've got very slow-moving priests that scout for you, so it's useful having something that increases their speed. Pharaohs, they need to move around a lot more to empower certain buildings. Hesser are very, very slow, and it depresses me to no end. And Atlantean doesn't count, and Immortals, you can only get 8 of them, but they are still relatively fast-moving. So, is this useful for Egyptians? Yes. Is it useful for Norse? Yes. Is it useful for anybody else? Not really. So it goes in C tier. Because it's useful for 2 out of the 5 civilizations. Jesus Christ, numbers are difficult for me, apparently. I mean, everything's difficult with me, apparently. Because it only favours 2, and it's only 10%, and it only really favours 3 units out of however many both of those have. It's not amazing. So, it's not D tier, because it's useful, but it's not incredibly useful, so it's C tier. I told you, I've got to be really fucking harsh. So, the Bow of Artemis. Archers cost 15% less resources. Trolls cost 15% less wood. Centaurs cost 20% less wood. Also affects Throwing Axemen, Satyr, and Satyr. Alright. If you use archers, this is good. If you are Norse and use trolls, this is good. If you use Hermes, this is good. Is this a good relic for all civilizations? Yes. So that automatically puts it in B tier. Is this good? What are archer units, first of all? So, in Greek, you've got 2 archer units. You've got the archer and the counter-archer. You've also got the centaur. And then in Egyptian, it is the slingers and the chariot. So, it's 2 units there. Norse, it is Throwing Axemen and the archer units in there. And the troll. In Egyptian, it's anything that throws something, and also satyrs, and it just means they cost less wood. So essentially, every 5 units you get another one free in terms of the wood cost alone. Is this any good? Yes, if you use archer units. If you don't, you're a fool, but it's useful. It wouldn't be as useful to you because you're not using them. I'm going to put it in probably S tier. No, A tier. It's A tier. Is it S tier? No. No, because it is S tier. Because it's less resources. So it's not just food, it's wood. It's not just wood, it's gold as well. So it's both of those resources, it has to go in S tier. If it were just wood or just gold, it would if it were gold, it would be an S tier as well. But because I think gold is the most valuable resource. But because it's both resources, it goes there. So, like I said before, for every 5 units you get no, it's 15%. Jesus Christ. Because that works out to be 6.6 recurring. So, for every 7 units you get a free unit, essentially, and a little bit extra for you. With centaurs, every 5 you produce, you get 1 free. Yeah. Words, numbers, difficult. It's a bloomin' good relic. I get very cheery when I see that because I'm a big fan of archers, you may or may not have seen. So, Bridle of Pegasus. Summons a Pegasus free 1 minute after the relic has been garrisoned. When re-killed, the Pegasus will simply respawn after a minute. This is good for every civilization apart from Greeks who already get the Pegasus, because Pegasus is probably the best scouter. Is this useful in Mythic Age? Probably not. Is this useful Arctic Age? Classic Age? Absolutely. Massively useful. I can't put it in anything lower than A tier, and I don't want to put it in A tier because I genuinely think it makes so much of a difference for anything that isn't Greek. And even in Greek, it's a free one, so you're saving 50 food and however many favor, I think 2 favor, from doing it. It's a bloomin' good one. So, the Canopic Jar of Inseti. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but also, why do you have to say really difficult fucking words? So, infantry units are trained 15% faster. Useful, especially for Norse. It is useful if you're producing spearmen and axemen for Egyptians early on. They are quite weak units, so it's useful to have more, and you can mass them. It is very useful. Why is it going in B tier? Well, why is it going in A tier? Why is it going in B tier? Because it's not. Is it more useful than the Bow of Artemis? No. The Bow of Artemis is a resource generation, essentially, and I think that is far more useful than faster speed. Because faster speed, you need to make sure you've got the economy to back it up. Is it useful for Norse? Absolutely. Is it useful for Greek? Yes, but you've got to remember Greek units are expensive. Is it useful for Egyptian? Yes, You've got to remember Egyptian units are weak early on. So it's useful. Even useful for... It's less useful for Chinese, because they only have halberdier. So it would only affect one. So it's more useful for any other civilization that is not Chinese. Okay. Scales of a catapulpus. What the fuck is that? So, myth units take 20% crush damage. Okay. Sure. It's crap. So, myth units are not buildings. So, they are not designed to be attacked with crush things. Does this mean it is a crap relic? No. It's just there is literally everything else is better, in my opinion. I could be wrong. We have yet to go through all of these relics. I might disagree with you entirely in just a moment, but at this moment in time, it's not great. Can crush damage do a lot of damage against myth units? Absolutely, but is it the main weakness? Absolutely not. So it's not great. It's a minor improvement that didn't need to be improved. Dwarven calipers. Siege weapons cost 20% less resources. Now. Now. That is a lot of resources saved, isn't it? I think so. Maybe it's not. Should we have a look at the costs of siege weapons? So. It does not say. Let's go in a bit more detail. So, if we look at let's do numbers again. Oh, terrifying, right? If you produce 3 Petroboli, which is the... Wait, is this Petroboli? Yep, okay. If you produce 3 Petroboli, for each, it's 150 wood and 20 gold. No, 200 gold, not 20. So if you say we're saving... Is it 20%? Game. Yeah, 20%, right. So that means it is 30 wood and 40 gold. Alright? That's just for one. So we times that by 3. And it gives us... 90 wood saved and 120 gold saved, right? So if we times that by 5, that would mean it's 150 wood and 200 gold. So for every 5th Petroboli you get, you've got another one for free. Very useful. However, I am not the kind of person who produces 5 Petroboli. I think Petroboli are crap, but you get what I mean. If you are someone who produces a lot of siege weapons and not myth units, just siege weapons, you'll save a lot of money. If you don't produce siege weapons, if you'd rather use myth units, which is my preferred method of siege, yes, I do still produce Petroboli and Heliopoli and catapults, but my preferred method is myth units. Then it's not really that useful. It's only if you use siege weapons will it be useful. Hence why it's only in B tier, because you could easily win just using myth units as siege weapons. Especially as Norse. Eye of Horus, town centre support to population. A tier. Population is pop capped by Age of Mythology. I think the maximum cap is 300, but it's, you can only build 10 houses at once. So, you have your town centre, and it holds, I think, 15 population. And then you've got to produce houses, which produce 10. If you have that produces 17, you can get a little bit of economy going, and then produce 2 more villagers, and they can make they can make the they can make the house, the manor, the whatever. The added bonus to this as well is that if you have let's make it realistic. If you've got 3 town centers, this is 6 extra population, which is a 1 mythic age myth unit, or a lot of 3 extra soldiers potentially. It's a decent relic when it expands. Just having extra 2 population isn't amazing, but it does stack, and that's what you need to remember. Eye of Ornlu. So Eye of Ornlu is Hypaspist, Axeman, Throwing Axeman, and Cheruballiste. Essentially counter units. Deal 5% more damage. It's minor, but it's there. It's C tier. I don't really like to produce a lot of counter units. I appreciate that I probably should. I appreciate that I'm a dumb idiot for not doing so. And I do produce a lot of Axemen and Throwing Axemen, to be fair, and having them do 5% damage is a very minor improvement. But it's only 1 unit per civilization, and it doesn't even affect Chinese, to the best of my knowledge. So, it's only in C tier, for me. Is it good? Yes. Is it essential? No. Fetters of Fenrir. Worker units can kill nearly all wild animals in a single shot. Is this good? Depends. So, if we look at it can kill bears in 1 shot, useful. I mean, I don't like to kill bears, and usually they like to shoot multiple loads rather than 1, but I don't like using them as a food source for Age of Mythology, because they don't have a lot and they just deal damage to our villagers. Now, with this relic, does that mean it's useful? Yes, if it's found early on. If it's found late on a low hunt map, it's crap. It will be the worst relic in the game. You also can't lore with this, so you do need to be aware. This is amazing for Norse. It's not amazing for anything else. It's going in C tier because although it does have a lot of benefits, it also does have a lot of negative things attached to it as well. It's a very choice relic, situational relic. It's okay, but you just need to play around it. It does save a lot of health when you're fighting a lot of bears, when you're fighting a lot of elephants, when you're fighting wild animals that will attack you. It's useful in that situation. Flagstone of Burhan. Walls cost 25% less resources. It costs 3 fucking gold. That is, you can't even get a quarter of that. It would be 1 because it rounds up most likely. Yes, it is a little bit of a saving and it is gold, but it's not exactly a lot. And if you're not walling at all, you don't actually have to ever wall. And it basically is saying wall, and it will be cheaper. You'll save 1 gold per fence. Crap. Moving on. Guy's Book of Knowledge. Infantry do 300% more damage against Titans. Do I have to say anything? Do I have to say anything? Yes? Okay. Titans are crap. And then they're not. They're good. They're massively good. But they are crap if the enemy has one. Because you do pitiful damage to them. So if you do, let's say 5, doing 300% more damage is 3 times the amount. So that's 15 damage. And yes, although that doesn't sound like a lot when they've got a shit ton of HP. But if you think about it, if you've got 5 hoplites attacking, doing 15 damage each, 15 times 5 is 75 damage, which is a lot more than not 75. It's 25 damage versus 75 damage. You can essentially kill it 3 times faster. And that is very, very, very useful. Girdle of Hippolyta. So, Toxotes, Chariot Archers, Throwing Axemen, and Archai get 5% more HP. Now, is that useful? Archers to have more HP? Not really. Archers will not be in the main thing in combat. Yes, it does mean they're able to survive that counter a little bit more with the horsey attack things, cavalry. But that's not going to be their main flaw. Like, them having low HP is useful for archers. It's made for archers, but it's not really the main thing that's weak to them. So it's okay, but it's not really going to make that big of a difference. Grugnir Odin's Spear. We're gonna call it Odin's Spear. The English language is very difficult for me the best of times, let alone trying to produce some of the things that comes up in here. Hoplite Spearmen, Ulfsarks, and Mamillos have 5% more attack. Useful if you use infantry, which I do. So, I don't think everyone uses infantry. It's... Where is it? It's B tier. It's... Is it B tier? Or is it A tier? I'd say A tier. Yeah. So, it's useful. 5% more attack isn't a lot. But these relics aren't there to be game-breaking. They're just there to make it slightly more unbalanced. And 5% attack isn't a lot, like I've literally just said. However, the benefit of 5% more attack is it means that you will have more soldiers surviving at the end. And it is useful with infantry. If we compare it to the armor of Achilles, okay, because that's what I was kind of comparing it to. Is it better or worse than that? It's better in the sense that having an extra attack is never a bad thing. Having extra hack armor isn't a bad thing, but attack is better than armor that's not their weakness. If it were pierce armor, it would be higher. It would be like the Odin Spear would be lower, but it's not. Armor Achilles is not pierce armor, it's only hack. So that's why it's better. So it's an A tier. It's not game breaking. It just aids a lot more than you think. Harmonia's Necklace. Worker units collect gold 10% faster. Gold is the most precious of resources, in my opinion, especially if it's an Egyptian. It helps massively with every single civilization. I'll get onto the Egyptians because they are particular. Norse, you have dwarves that gather gold faster, but that even helps them, and it's 10% faster. So it's a lot. If you gather 35 gold a minute, you're getting no. Work it out. Yeah, no, I'm right. You'll be getting 36.5 gold a minute, which doesn't sound like a lot, but gold is a resource that you will collect throughout the game. And there comes a point where you won't gather gold anymore because gold would have run out. This is where this relic stops becoming useful. But wouldn't you rather gather more gold than your enemy? So maybe stealing their gold mines because you're gathering more. This is not the music we wanted. Eat potatoes, good boy. Egyptians, because they use gold for everything, it's important that they gather as much gold as they can, especially with Isis, with prosperity. However, it does have its cutoff point. But being honest, you're probably not going to get relics right at the end of the game. You're probably going to get relics earlier on, and this is more useful. Harter's Folly. This will be the last one before I get a drink, so we'll be pausing after this one. Harter's Folly is scout units gain 2% line of sight. So, what is the definition of a scout unit? Don't know. Should we have a look? So, scout unit is... Can you not talk about... Thank you. Age of Mythology. So, you get the Catasopus, which is the cavalry scouting unit. You can get a Pegasus, that's a scouting unit, and Hippocampus is a scouting unit. Scouting unit for for Egyptians is priests. And Norse have Allsarks as their scout, and Odin has ravens. Atlanteans use oracles, and Chinese have scout cavalry. So each one has scout units that you can retrain more than one of. So having 2% extra line of sight, especially for Egyptians and Norse, where you can use these as attacking, it's very useful. So it's B tier. It's a solid B tier. Is it game breaking? No. Does it help you explore the map a bit quicker? Absolutely. Is it something that you desperately need? No. You don't. I can explore the map fine without it. It just means I have to spend less resources if the Pegasus keep dying, etc. So I said I was going to go on a break, so we're just going to pause, and we're going to pause on you, and I'll be right back. Hello, did I get distracted? Yes. Is it the same day? Maybe. Is it 5 days later? Also maybe. I'll never tell. So, moving on. So, I need to get my relics up. So, the head of Orpheus. Well, as much as I'm a fan of head, I don't actually know if I'm a fan of it in this game. So, let's get the correct one. Done that one. Done that one. Right. Building gain 8 line of sight. Okay. Is that useful? Kind of. Is it a game breaking? No. Is it something I particularly want to grab? Not really. What can it do? Well, it can certainly show you that enemies are on the way. But apart from that, not really much. That's about it. It's an okay relic. It's nice to get, but it's not. It doesn't save you money, it doesn't save your patience, it doesn't save your dreams. So it's an okay relic to get, it's not great. Here is Thundercloud Shawl. Is Head of Orpheus in C tier or is it D tier? I don't think it's as bad as D tier, to be fair. Because it does have its uses. Yeah, it's C tier, it's fine. All human units take 5% less pierce damage. Is there anything less than S tier for this? It's not specifically infantry. It's all human soldiers. So that's infantry, that is archers, that is counter infantry, counter archers, cavalry. Is a very, very useful relic because it's not only against damage from enemies, it is damage from buildings as well. So it's very useful to have there. So definitely S tier. I can't put anything less than S tier. Hero's damage multiplier against myth units is increased by 1. So instead of 3 times, it will be 4 times. Which is useful. But it's not great. So the Quapesh of Horus goes into B tier. At the end of the day, there aren't really many myth units that are going to survive an onslaught of heroes attacking them. The ones that will be more useful for are Greeks and Atlanteans if you don't make any heroes, and maybe Chinese. If you can't produce all the immortals. It's not a great relic. It's okay. It's alright. It's pretty shit. It does its job. It's okay. It's better than C tier, but it's nowhere near as good enough to be A tier. Kithara of Apollo. Alright. So, worker units move up to 10% faster. What a good relic. What a good relic. So, think of... this would affect pretty much all the people except Norse. So, if you haven't built a a lumber camp near enough to the wood, you can just have the increased 10% villager speed, so it's not going to cause any massive problems. Sorry, just having a bit of a drink. Farming becomes infinitely better. Moving between different hunting sites, very useful. And also when you go from one gold mine to another, it does that. And if you're doing different buildings, etc., it is a very useful relic. Is it S tier worthy? No. It's okay. The most useful it will be for citizens because they walk very slow and it's painful. They're like old people all the time. Meteor Horseshoes. So cavalry units move 10% faster. It's okay. It does mean you can raid a little bit more easily. So if you've got cavalry and you're traveling, especially for Chinese, but if you're traveling from one you're from your camp to the enemy's camp, it does mean you can attack them more frequently because they're moving faster. So all you've got to wait for is the training time, and that's about it. So it can be a bit more devastating. It means they can chase after villagers a little bit more from further away, and run away from enemies a little bit easier. There's lots of benefits to that. Is it the best thing in the world? No, it's not, because at the end of the day, speed doesn't really affect that much, but it does have some uses. Monkey Head. So, summons 3 relic monkeys. Ugh. It's a bit harsh. So, where lions were pretty decent, monkeys are not. Monkeys are not. They are crap. They are so squishy. They don't do any damage. They don't move as fast as the lions. They are just running. And that's about it. They're okay. They're not great. They're nothing special. I wouldn't recommend them. Nose of the Sphinx. All buildings have 15% more hit points. Okay. How does that affect me? It doesn't. It's okay. It doesn't. I believe it may affect building time slightly, but I could be wrong. I probably am. But there is literally no massive benefit unless you're completely turtling up. And it... No. Odin's Wand. Temporal technologies are 20% cheaper. Do we need to go on? Okay, maybe I do. Right, so why this is useful, it's not in A tier because temple improvements only help myth units, really, and things like that. They don't really help a lot of other things. So, although it's useful having that 20% off, if it's Atlantean, for example, I despise the myth units there. So I'm not going to summon them, so I'm not going to upgrade them. If it were Greek, they have quite a lot of upgrades. Egyptian have quite a lot of upgrades for their myth units. Norse, not so much. They have some, but they just have... hang on, are they? No, they have around about the same terms of upgrades for temple things. So it's useful for kind of everyone. But if you don't want to use myth units... why would you want to pick up Odin's Wand? Exactly. So, it's A tier, because more than likely you're going to summon myth units, otherwise why aren't you just playing Age of Empires? But it's highly unlikely, it is still possibly true, that you would not use myth units. So, I can't assume that you are just always going to use myth units. If I could assume that, I'd put this in S tier. But because you don't have to, it's not a necessity. O's burn wagon. Oh, say burn. Oh, the wagon. Caravans are 25% more cheaper and move 15% faster. Every 4 caravans you get one free. And they move 15% faster, which increases the amount of gold. The amount of gold that you get, I believe, just is the terms of distance, not time. So when you get the upgrade for caravan speed, coinage, I believe, and this relic, it will not diminish the amount of gold you get from the trip, because the trip will be the same. Also, this does mean that you can have a very strong economy in the late game. This is useful in Age of Mythology more so because Age of Mythology, if you didn't know, if you just played Age of Empires, you can trade with yourself. So all you need to do is send your caravan, whatever kind of caravan it is, to the furthest town centre away that you control, or your ally controls, if you want to trade with your ally, if you've got an ally, and then you will be able to create a trade route. So with yourself, it is significantly less than it's with your ally, which is why this relic is so important for that period of time. However, if you do have an ally, it will still help because you're gathering gold faster. So definitely a useful relic. Okay. Myth units are trained 25% faster. The reason why this is an S tier is because, yes, although it's... You want... I have said that just because it's training faster does not mean it's better. Myth units, however, take a long time to upgrade. And you're not necessarily just going to pump out myth units all the time. I fully appreciate that. But for Norse, when they get the majority of their favour in combat, it is very useful to stop producing it so you're not storing it up. Also, producing myth units to get rid of favour is something that's very useful. I tend to, if I boom, I tend to be able to produce loads of myth units late game, and having them out quicker means that I can fight an army a bit faster. And even though it's sped up by 25%. You don't often make myth unit, but it just means that if you do make a myth unit, you'll be able to then go to combat quicker, so if it dies, you'll be able to send the next raid a bit faster when you've got this relic. That's why it's an S tier, because it has so many different uses and variability and helpfulness. Because myth units going cheaper, yeah, that would be amazing, but it's not necessarily going to be the case. Okay. Pelt Vargas. All units gain 6% line of sight. So, people might think I'm hypocritical. And I'm good with that. No, the reason why I'm picking in B tier. Because the difference between units and buildings, and this is going to sound like I'm very much, teaching you how to suck eggs, when I'd much prefer how to teach you to suck dick. But it's you do it with a grapefruit, but the reason why it's more useful is because units move. Buildings aren't guaranteed to move. Why is that so important? Well, when they move, you can, if a villager is there, with the extra line of sight, they can avoid an army. You can attack an army. So if you're going to the enemy's base, they're coming to you. They may cross. You might go into the bottom of the enemy's town, and these enemies that come from the top and going to the top of your town. So you could miss them, and then your town would be raided while you're raiding their town. And if you're pop capped, that means that you can't produce any units to save yourself. By having this, it just means that you'll be able to catch that interaction a little bit better. Is it game breaking? No, but it also does mean that you can see with your scouts, because it's all units, but even not with your scouts, you can see that little bit more. So when you are scouting out an enemy space, you can see the soldiers maybe before they can see you if you've got this relic. So it is useful. So that's fine. That's why it's in B tier, because it has its uses. It's not game breaking though. Oh god, here's one. Pygmalion statue. I will not repeat that, but it is a statue for Pyro Guy, but PY by Pie Guy, you know. So workers have 40% more hit points. Okay. I don't actually think I've ever seen this relic in the wild. So this is very much, in my opinion, geared towards online play. Because if workers, so that's all your dwarfs, gatherers, villagers, citizens, have more HP, they are less likely to get killed before they can hide away safe in a town centre or tower, and it also means that they are more likely to survive that raid. They are more likely to survive Fumblewinter. They're more likely to survive all sorts of things. So, it's useful. In non-online play, it still is useful, but it's nowhere near as important as online play when raids are a bit more common. So it goes in A tier. Reed of Nekhbit. Naval myth units naval myth units do double damage. Alright, it's useful, but very rarely. So B tier. Naval myth units aren't anything amazing to begin with. So dealing double damage isn't gonna make these massive changes. Naval myth units nearly always have another reason to be there. So you've got the, let's go in order. So we'll go Greek, Egyptian, and like that. So all of Greek, there is 2 naval myth units. There is the Sea Hydra, the Water Hydra, and there's the Crab. Both are useful, but the Sea Hydra is there to get heads, and the Crab is just is a fast attacker. It's not really necessary to have another neat thing use. So then you look at Egyptian, and it's Leviathan and Sea Turtle. Leviathan is a transport ship, primarily, with a hell of a lot of HP, and Sea Turtle flips ships and stops them from attacking for a brief period of time. Norse have Kraken, pretty good myth unit, and a Sea Serpent. That's quite powerful. Atlantean has Servant. The thing that rides on the sea, dolphin thing. I don't know. I can't think of the name because words are difficult. And I don't think there is one. No, there's not. So those are the only 2 in Atlantean. In Chinese, there is War Salamander. But I don't know if that's naval because it's both. Because it is both. So I don't know whether it does double damage when you're in the sea or not. There doesn't seem to be any information, any extra information. The relic was deemed overpowered and was removed in the relic spawn from the Titans expansion edition. We don't have to go in this anymore. It's useful. It's not great. There is one that's missing. There's one that's missing. So it's the Ring of Nibelung, and it increases, so it produces more trickle of gold of 18 per minute. So this is going to be very similar to the Ship of Fingernails, and I will do 2 of, I won't do 2 of those, but I'll use that one as both of them. They will be in the same tier. Scarab Pendant, Scarabs, Rams, Scarabs, and Behemoths have their attack multiplier against buildings increased by 1. Also affects fire siphons. Okay, it's useful. I think these myth units are very underpowered anyway. I love the fact that they said this ring was overpowered, that this relic was overpowered, and I've put it in B tier. I think that yes, it's useful in water maps, it's not useful in all maps, and if you've got to think about versatility, which is something that I'm not, but if you've got to think of versatility, that's not versatile in every single map and every single situation. And it only affects 2 myth units that are optional in the whole civilization of each civilization, so you might not even have access to both of them. So that's why it's in B tier for me, because you might not ever get a myth unit that's naval. But that's why it doesn't matter about war salamanders. So, Scarabs and behemoths are quite... My pen just flew out of my hand. In my opinion, are underused. I think they need to be a bit stronger, in my personal opinion. I think that both of them are quite weak, and they have potential to be amazing. So having their attack multiplier increased by 1 does mean that they're doing essentially 100% more damage. It's useful. With rams as well, that is useful, but mainly for the Scarabs and behemoths because they need it. Fire siphons as well is useful for. Shingles of Steel. House of Manners of triple hit points. You're not using them for walls. Why do you need them to have triple hit points? You don't. Ship of Fingernails and also the ring, it's A tier. The reason why is it's free food and it's free gold. So, the Ship of Fingernails is 24 food per minute, which is more than the ring of Nibelung. The reason why is because food is infinite, gold is not. Essentially, yes, you can do trading, so it is infinite in that respect, but it's really not infinite as much as food is. So, because food gathers the slowest when you go for farming, that's where you get more. I think both are incredible relics. It's free resources. Why wouldn't you spend it? It's not amazing bonus, but it does help a little bit. And that needs to be made note of. Sistrum of Bast, workers units cost 10% less. So every 10 villages, you get 1 free. Which, yes, I'm trivializing it in that regard. But I prefer to do it that so you can kind of see it a bit more. And it helps people who aren't necessarily numbers based see it in a different way. The reason why that is so good is simply for the fact that you can get more villages for free. And so if you are struggling for food for whatever reason, you've got that extra resource, so you can, for every 10 villages, you can get another one that you don't have to worry about, oh, how am I going to fund the food resources for that. Really useful, really like it, amazing relic. Staff of Dionysus, S tier. Villagers gather 20 extra food now. For hunting, this isn't useful for Atlanteans. If this is Atlantean, go away. But if leave the relic, it's fine. But if you are any other civilization, gathering 20 extra food means there's going to be less waste for hunting. I will say, this is not as useful for Norse, but it is useful for farming because they're having to have a less walking around to drop the food off at the town centre. It can cause a bit of a problem in the respect that it's less food. It's a bigger payoff with husbandry. It's 50 food they're gathering. It is a big payoff when they get it, but it's not necessarily useful in that meantime while you're waiting for that food. So you have to kind of play around it, and I consider it to be beneficial, but I can see why you would see it's not beneficial, which is why it's low S tier, because in fact, no, let's put it in A tier. It's going in A tier. It's going in high A tier. We'll put it there. Tale of the Cerberus. I don't know why it's the Cerberus and not Cerberus, but hey. Myth unit, special attacks recharge 25% faster. I don't really rate Myth units special attacks. They're good. They're not amazing. They're serviceable. Is it useful though having you more like do it? Yes, but depending on the myth unit. So for example, Cyclops' myth unit it takes far too long. And some myth unit special attacks are better against units than buildings, and if you are facing buildings, it's not going to be useful as much. So it goes there. The Titan's Treasure. Secrets of the Titans is cheaper. It doesn't say how much. It's alright. I personally don't research the Titan Treasure a lot of the time. It's not beneficial really for me. Sometimes I do, but it's very rare that I do. And you can finish the game before Mythic Age. I didn't when I was doing the videos because I wanted you to see each Mythic God Power and each Mythic unit and each Mythic objection. I think I did it in a few of them where I didn't get to Mythic, and I deleted those videos so you didn't see it, but you can see why the Titan Treasure will be useful, but not all games will go to Mythic Age. Toothed Arrows. Archer units and Ballista have 5% more attack. Also affects throwing axemen, and it's useful for... It goes here. It's the exact reason as that. It's just for archers. I'm not going to go into it because we went into it there. Tower of Cestus. So towers have 30% extra range attack and 10% extra boiling oil attack. That's the one when it's they're too short distance sort of thing. Yeah, makes sense in my mind what I'm trying to say. It doesn't for you. It's good if you're a defensive player. It's exactly the same as the arrows of Alpha. It's the same. I'm not going to go into it because it's the same, just as a different way. Is it stronger? Yes, but it's for a defensive unit. Triospo. Archer units have 2% line of sight and range. Also affect throwing axemen. It goes in A tier. The line of sight I'm not worried about. It's the range that's useful because it means they can outrange other units, archer units. So if they are attacking your wall, you can attack them and get out of their range, so that you always outrange them. Really, really useful. Massively beneficial. Trojan Gate Hinge. Walls have 20% more hit points. If you're a defensive player, this is great. If you're not, then it doesn't really bode well. I'm being a little bit quicker, mainly because one, I'm tired, and two, I think that a lot of them are kind of repeated in different ways. Tusk of the Iron Boar. Cavalry units and chariot archers have 10% more hit points. Useful, mainly for Egyptians, for the chariot archers. But cavalry units, especially for Chinese, are good. Having 10% more hit points, they are more up front. So I'm gonna say it's... A tier. Because they're up front and they have a direct counter, which is infantry, it stops them having so much damage done from infantry because it's a lower proportion of the health. With chariot archers, yes, it is archers as well, but they can get damaged because they don't... Well, they can get damaged still. Archer skill can get damaged. As an archer benefit, it's not great, but because it's both, that's why it gets higher. And with Jedi, myth units cost 10% less food, wood, and gold. It's the same reason of the faster resources. Because they cost less, you can produce them more. So if you aren't someone who's massively into myth units, this might make you a little bit more into them. So that's why it goes in S tier. 10% again isn't a lot, but it adds up over time. So I'm not going to go into numbers. Some of you will be really grateful, but just think about it. Every 10 times you create that myth unit, you get another one free. This is very unlikely with things like Colossus, with Manticores, with very expensive myth units. But for cheaper myth units, such as a Minotaur, or a Cyclops or a Centaur, you're probably going to make at least 10 of those throughout the game, potentially. And you're getting one free with the Jet. That is my tier list. This isn't as easy because you don't necessarily know what they mean, I will link the wiki in the description. I will also link this tier list in the description as well, just in case you do want to have a look and do one yourself. You're more than welcome. These are quite easy to find, but there aren't that many Age of Mythology ones up there, because if you include the extended edition, which I do because that's what I play, it's very difficult for you to find them. I do think it's useful though, to have the extended edition on there, because some players will play it, some players won't. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not? I always love to hear you guys' feedback and your guys' opinions. Obviously, if you agree on something and if you don't. At the end of the day, I don't talk to many people about Age of Mythology. The only people that I talk to about Age of Mythology is you guys. So, if you have a different opinion, let me know. Even if you have the same opinion, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are, where you're coming from. Do you agree? Do you think... I'm not rating them in terms of tier lists, because this video is already over an hour long. I'm very tired, as I'm up early. I'm up in 7 hours for work, so that's fun. And I still need to shave my face, but... yeah, let me know what you guys think, because I'm always really interested to see where your guys' thoughts come from. And I don't mind if people disagree with me, that's what it's here for, but I will respect your opinions, and I hope you respect mine as well, but so we can have a discussion of why you think I'm wrong, why I think you're wrong, why I think you're right, why am I completely misguided. Just let me know what you think in the comments down below, because it really does make me extremely happy to see you guys think. From the looks of things, this will probably be the last tier list. So the Age of Mythology may come to an end here, maybe not, we'll see. It may take a brief hiatus and something I might pick up, I don't know. If you have any other ideas for me to do talks about on Age of Mythology, do you want to hear my opinions on something? I'll go on a rant, it's not a problem. Let me know as well down in the comments. I'm always reading them, watching them, and I always reply within 2 days, so I'm better than some businesses. But yeah, thank you so much again for watching and your continued support. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to, you don't have to, it's completely optional. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.